guys, Gina with Sidewalk Talk. Today I am with one half of Syence, Zach.
What's up?
How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Good. You're born and raised in LA.
No. So
No. You're born in LA and you grew up in New Mexico.
Yes, that's correct. You got it.
Yes.
So born in LA, actually like pretty much right down the street, and moved to New Mexico. I was like 3 and grew up there, and then came back to LA for college. That's where I met Brayden.
What was it like growing up in New Mexico?
It was cool. It was very different than it is out here, obviously.
In what way?
It's just like way more laid back and kind of mellow. Not a lot
really?
going on. Yeah, it's like there's just not as much stimulation, I think. But still really fun. Lots of cool people. I went to like really cool schools, met a lot of really awesome people that I'm still friends with, which is great.
Oh, what's your favorite thing about New Mexico?
Honestly, like probably the geography and like landscape and all that. It's got like a really unique setup, has a giant mountain on one side which you can like ski and snowboard on, and then there's a big valley and a mesas with like volcanoes on this other side.
What?
It's really cool. Yeah.
Wait, I've never heard of, actually this is the first time I'm talking about New Mexico.
Yeah, Albuquerque. You probably, the only like other reference people always have is Breaking Bad, because that's where Breaking Bad takes place.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
When you're growing up in New Mexico, what type of music were you and your friends listening to?
I listened to a ton of different music growing up. I'd say mainly in high school. That was when, because this is what, like 2009, 2010. This is when bands like Passion Pit and MGMT and Phoenix, all that kind of stuff, like the indie stuff.
I love Passion Pit.
Yeah, great bands.
Wow.
So that was kind of, I was really into that for a while.
Yeah.
I've always been, like, me and Brayden kind of connected because we've always been big fans of like
Blink-182.
pop punk bands like Blink-182.
Yeah.
So listen to a lot of that. I honestly didn't even start listening to electronic music until pretty much my senior year of high school, which was 2011, because that's right when like Skrillex and Zedd and Porter Robinson and all those guys started to kind of be a thing.
Right. Yeah.
So I kind of started then and got just really obsessed with it in college, and that's when, obviously.
What was the first song you listened to?
Oh wow! Honestly, actually, I think I do know it's but it was a way longer before that. It was the song "Around the World" by Daft Punk. You know that song?
Oh my god! Yeah. Wow.
Because me and my friend used to drive around with his brother in his Broncos, like old truck, and just like hang out, and he would always play that song. We were like, what is this song? Because it's such a like ridiculous song. If you've never heard that kind of music before, you're just like, what?
Of course.
So that was probably the first little taste of it.
And where do you think you got your creative side from?
Well, my whole family on my mom's side are all very arts driven. My parents own a theater company in New Mexico, so they do a lot of performing arts. I was never really into that, but I think I kind of caught the bug of, I guess, like performance and, like art in general from them. So probably that. My dad's side doesn't really do anything, so that had to have been what it was. And also school, my schools were always really arts forward. Like we had a lot of programs like performing arts and visual arts, digital art, all that kind of stuff. So that I think helped make me feel like it was something I wanted to spend time doing.
What was your favorite subject in school?
I was a big math guy, weirdly enough. I don't know, just good at math. I did engineering in college basically because of that. So I think I liked it because I was just good at it. So I felt like I didn't have to try as much. And
wow,
I was really bad at like.
Really?
Yeah, I was really bad at all like.
Crazy.
My least favorite were English for sure. Like reading books and like analyzing them. And
yeah, I can
relate. Wasn't a big reader. Like I would rather just do literally anything else. So yeah, I think it was kind of like I just got really focused on that stuff and then pursued it in college, kind of.
I see. And what does your parents think about what you're doing, like EDM in general?
They love it. I mean, I feel like they kind of like live vicariously through me. Like they've learned a ton. They've obviously grown to understand what we do way more now because we spend a lot of time. I have a pretty good like relationship with them, telling them like as things happen, like what's going on to the best of my abilities. But they're really supportive. They like always talk to me about it, ask me how things are going, try to remember the names of things and always butcher it and fail because it's just not something it's easy to remember. There's a lot of weird names in music in the music industry.
So, did you graduate? You graduated with an aerospace engineering
Yeah.
degree.
So we graduated in 2015 from Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, just up north from LA. And I did aerospace engineering. Brayden did industrial engineering. And I don't really use it at all anymore. But
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna
cool
say,
to have.
did your parents not, weren't they like, you got this
Degree,
amazing
yeah.
degree in aerospace engineering, like, do you not want to do this and music, like that type of thing, or were they kind of fully supportive?
I pretty much told them my second year of college. I was like, look, like, I think I want to do music. Like, I'm going to do the degree and get it as a fallback, but I'm going to try to simultaneously figure out how I can make a living in music, because and at that point I was really naive and didn't really know what my even options were. And like the idea of being a production DJ duo and touring and stuff to make a living, like that wasn't really on the table at the time. It was more just like, I want to do music, whatever I can do. And they were always just really supportive. I think they're just kind of the type of people who would rather me do what I love doing than to force myself to do something that I don't really love, even if it makes me money, which is super fortunate. I think that's super lucky every day. Brayden might have a totally different situation, or and a lot of people do. But I also happened to kind of figure out pretty quickly how to sort of pay my rent out of college with music. So that obviously they were like, all right.
How did you figure that out?
Well,
because not a lot of people could figure that out, though.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely lucky to find a way to make that happen. But I honestly think it's just kind of like, well, for one, like no matter what you're doing, just getting really good at something like is the first step, right? So I was like obsessed with music production and engineering, like mixing and mastering and stuff like that. So I got just really good at it, I think. And then from there, I ended up connecting with this guy Sarek, who runs an online music production school called Hyperbits. And I sort of just started off like as, I guess, like an intern with him, and it kind of just developed into a real partnership, and now I work with him basically full time to
awesome.
Teach a music production school online. And it's really cool because it's sort of just doubles up as the stuff I'm already doing with my own art and music. So I kind of just get better at it because I'm teaching it to new people and helping other artists get better and sound better. So it's just kind of all one big thing. So you
genuinely love to mix and master.
Yeah, I love sonics of stuff. And that's probably some of the
respect.
That's probably some of the nerdy engineering side of me. Yeah. I just feel like that stuff has always clicked with me, and I just really like software, and I've just spent so much time training my ears over the last. I've been making music for a decade at this point. So, when you spend that much time doing something, I almost feel like it's my obligation to just keep doing it,
True. How did you first start getting into music production?
So my stepdad bought me a copy of Logic when I was a sophomore. I think it was at Christmas before my junior year in high school.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he was just like, hey, you like music, I like music, we talk about it all the time, you should try making some. That's kind of what his thing was.
Oh.
Yeah, and I barely dabbled because I was still rebel, screw you parents kind of vibe. But I did really like it, and I made some really bad songs, and then kind of took a little break. But then when I got really into electronic music, I started researching, and this was also right at the boom of YouTube and online music production, the whole world. None of the things now that are just so standard, Splice and big companies like Cymatics and stuff like that, they didn't exist, or they were just starting to. So there was just kind of a big, it's almost like the gold rush of music production was pretty much right when I started. So it was just easy to just do and spend a lot of time at and try to get really good at it. And also, I feel like there was no one really around me that did what I did. There was a few people that I was kind of friends with that produced music, and obviously Brayden. But that was kind of cool because I was sort of isolated, so I didn't have a lot of distractions from the outside world kind of telling me what to do and how to do it. So I sort of was able to find my own way, which I think was really cool and evident with kind of our sound and stuff now.
What is the as far as mixing and mastering, what do you find the most challenging, or what's the most easy for you?
So most challenging is probably the last 5% of tweaks that are needed to make something sound the way you want it to sound, because a lot of times there's just so much going on already that you're like, it's hard for your ear to kind of hear the things that are missing. But probably the easiest thing for me in general, I would just say, is kind of like making ideas and making them sound pretty much good to go. Like, I think I can pretty easily do like the sound design and engineering that it takes to make something for like 98% of people. When they hear it, they're like, oh, that's like done. Like, you don't, like, I don't think it sounds bad or whatever. Obviously there's plenty of people who would critique the crap out of it because everything's so subjective anyway. But yeah, like in general, just like making ideas is pretty easy for me. I feel like it's just like finishing and making them sound really, really good that can take a little bit of time.
What's the one piece of mixing advice that you can give to anyone that would apply? Just like the best piece of mixing advice.
Honestly, I think the best piece is to like not be hypercritical of yourself. I guess whenever you're listening to something, you have to realize that what the purpose of it is. Like if you're trying to make a song that, you know, tons of people are going to enjoy, well then like that's a specific purpose, and those people aren't going to notice like these little tiny things that you're worried about.
Right.
And a lot of times, at least especially with myself, I would be like hypercritical on things, and I would compare, you know, my song to, you know, a song by Calvin Harris, and obviously like way more money and time and effort and experience has gone into these other tracks. You have to like be willing to accept the fact that, you know, you're not just going to like make something instantly all the time that sounds perfect. And kind of like not being a perfectionist, I think, is one thing. It's hard for me because I am sort of a perfectionist, but getting better at letting things go and letting mixing kind of be more of an art and less of like a science, so that it's kind of like you can make decisions and leave things certain ways because you want it to, right? That's the only reason you need, is you just like it, right? Which I think is really like freeing, because it lets you sort of make whatever decision you want and be able to justify it, you know?
So tell me about how you met Brayden. You guys met in science class.
Yeah.
Well, like, what was your initial thought? Did it take a while for you to be like, oh, let's form this duo? Or were you kind of like, yeah, F it, let's just go? Like,
yeah, I mean, it definitely did. We met freshman year, probably like the second day of school. We were in
you guys met in freshman year? That's so adorable.
We were in a chemistry class together, and I actually don't think I met him in the class. I met him at his dorm with one of my dorm mates from my dorm. Like we were all together. And then we just vibed on like, he was really into Blink-182. I was into Blink-182. He really liked music in general. He was in bands. I was like in like random bands growing up. So we just kind of started hanging out, and we just had a really big circle of friends that were all very friendly with one another. So we kind of just hung out all the time, and we started making like, I mean, at this point, Brayden wasn't making music at all. Like he didn't start producing until
he met you.
Yeah, till after he met me. So, but what he got really into was DJing, and he was in a fraternity, and like he would DJ parties, and he got in that whole world. And I was just like literally obsessed with making music. Like I would pretty much, if I wasn't,
wow, you guys are like a power team.
If I wasn't like in school or like partying, I was making music. Like, that was basically all I did for 4 years at college. And I think it was our end of our sophomore year. It actually might have been our junior year, now that I think of it. I can't remember, it was so long ago. We were at Coachella, because our whole friend group would go to Coachella every year, and we were actually at a Zed show, and I remember we like finished the set and we were just like mesmerized by how sick, and this was like things were starting to peak. Like this is when artists like that were, they're like turning into like pop stars, you know, and it was just like, wow, like this is crazy. And we were kind of just like, we should just do whatever we need to do that. And he was DJing, I was making music. We were like, we should just partner up, and pretty much, you know, the rest is history right there.
Wow. And it just like you guys just clicked.
Yeah, I think we just kind of, like you mentioned, like good team. We're just sort of like, we kind of describe it sometimes when we're talking to people as like a yin and yang sort of situation. Like everything he's bad at, I seem to be good at, and everything I'm bad at, he seems to be good at. So it just sort of works out. I mean, we butt heads like any partnership would, or friendship would, but I mean, it's pretty rare that it's ever a huge issue. And we just have known each other for, 10 years at this point. So we just understand like each other's shortcomings, I think, which helps us not like take anything personal. And we also have this thing where like, when it comes to Syence, whether it's music or like marketing or branding or whatever, both people have to be interest or down with it, or else it doesn't fly. You know, like if one person is like fighting for something, the other person just doesn't like it, we just like have to bite our ego and scratch it and try to figure out a way for both of us to enjoy it.
Wow,
and I think
love
that's
that.
made everything from like our art to our branding to all that stuff just so much better, because when we're both satisfied, you know, it's always a better, it's a better product at the end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, before we jump into questions, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, tough. I guess like just in general, kind of more like grandiose. I just want to be. I want like you mean Syence, right? Like not me specifically.
No, you.
Oh, just me. Okay. Well, I want to be.
Both?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I would love to be associated heavily with Syence. I think I want that to sort of be my identity, or at least in part my identity.
Yeah.
But I think I just kind of want to be in general, like remembered for just bringing like people together in like a positive way. Like I don't really know if that means just from music or from shows or any of that stuff, but I just think in general, like having a legacy that's positive for one, obviously, but then like very inclusive and like trying to make sure everyone feels like they fit into whatever it is that I'm building. And obviously, like I'm an artist and I make a lot of cool art, whether it's like songs or visuals or whatever. So for me, it makes sense that hopefully that's involved in some way in this process. But that's kind of in general. And I also just want to be like, as much as I don't feel like I'm not selfish, but I do want to have like my own goals satisfied just internally, just so I feel like accomplished, you know?
Yeah, of course.
And that usually involves a laundry list of things me and Brayden are trying to accomplish that are just like listed on an Excel sheet somewhere.
What's the biggest goal?
This is like a crazy question, because it always ends up like whenever we hit goals, there's just another goal. It's like it never goes away.
What's your
but I would say
goal?
current biggest goal is probably to like play headlining slots at big festivals. I'd say like if we could do that, if we could like play, you know, 10 p.m. on like the Sahara tent at Coachella or something, like I would feel pretty damn accomplished after that. I'd be like, okay, well, we did something right to be able to do that. And also, I really want to work with really dope artists. So one of my biggest goals is just to be able to get in the room and create art with really like people I respect and like love and have been obsessed with over the last like 10 years. I mean, I look up to so many people. I feel like it's
one
hard
person to collaborate with right now. Who would you choose?
Man, well, one person that I think I would be really, really stoked to collaborate with, and it feels like within reach, is Zed, because we've like been able to be in kind of his circle recently in our careers, which has been awesome. And
that's amazing. By the way.
And we've already talked. Thank you.
Huge stuff. Wow.
Yeah, and we've already talked to him in general, but like I think that would be awesome to be able to like, you know, keep working with him and all that. But in terms of people I don't know, I really respect like kind of the pop side of things. Like I'm a big pop producer alongside electronic music, so I really respect guys like Benny Blanco and Max Martin, these producers who have made, you know, international hit songs for generations. You know, I like think that's just so cool to be able to make a song that resonates, because it's almost like you're like you live forever kind of, you know, like if you make a hit song that everyone remembers, you know, you last. And I think that's really cool. So collaborating with guys like that would be, and girls too, like awesome.
Alrighty, we are going to jump into questions. Okay. Let's do duo questions. Who's the messiest?
I'm gonna go with Brayden, only because I'm like just the cleanest. I'd rather describe it like that. Like I'm kind of OCD. Yeah, like I'm obsessed with keeping my space like so tidy.
Yes.
I would imagine he'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
But he's not a messy guy by any means. I'm just like I'm just that much cleaner.
No, I understand exactly.
Yeah.
Who's the more creative one?
That's a tough one. I mean, I'd say like we both are just so creative in different ways. Like we're just such different. Like he's really creative when it comes to like cool ideas for like moving us forward, like with our branding or like on the business side. And I obviously have just been making music a lot longer, and I'm kind of more focused on production and engineering and stuff like that. Like I engineer off of music, he doesn't ever do any of that, so obviously like creatively there. But I really feel like we're both extremely creative guys. I think that's in part why we're starting to have successes, because you know, two creative people is better than one.
Yeah, I was gonna say the next one was gonna be who has the business mind.
Oh yeah, so
It's Brayden.
I would say like he just has a really good experience with business, because he's in like the corporate world still, like until Syence like takes off completely.
Really?
He still works and like does sales and stuff like that, like just like how I kind of do my music school.
I see.
So we both have a lot of business expertise, but I think he's definitely kind of been exposed to that quite a bit, which has helped us a ton. So I would say Brayden for sure.
Oh, okay. Who has the best taste in food?
I'm gonna go with me, only because Brayden has like a pretty restrictive diet.
Does he really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
no.
he just like is very picky with what he eats, and I kind of have gone in waves of that. Like, you know, moved to LA, tried to become vegan, but like failed. Just that whole thing.
Oh, you tried to become vegan?
Yeah, like I was just dealing with like random things. I was like, all right, I'll give it a try, but no, it doesn't really work for me.
How long did that? I tried to go vegetarian for like a day.
Yeah, I did it pretty well. Probably like 6 months or something.
What?
And then I was vegetarian for a while after that, but now I'm pretty much just like back to eating just like what I call healthier animal products. Like I just avoid obvious things that are terrible, like super processed meat from like McDonald's. I'll try not to have, you know, even though I love it and I want to eat it.
It's like my favorite foods. Who is the more spontaneous one?
More spontaneous. I definitely think me. I think, although I don't know, these are tough because I just feel like we both like are very spontaneous. I'd say like I'm willing to do, I think, crazier things on a whim than Brayden is, but we both do a lot of fun stuff. Like he's been traveling way more than me recently, like going down and meeting up with friends and going to like events. Like for Halloween, he was down in San Diego.
Like
and
if I
wasn't.
said, let's go skydiving right now, who would be like no, and who would be say yes?
I think I would probably be more likely to jump on those boards, also because Brayden's just like really busy right now with like work and stuff too. Not that I'm not busy, but I think I just would lean into opportunities like that a little bit more.
What's your favorite thing about your partner, about Brayden?
Favorite thing about Brayden, I definitely just think his, I mean, specifically, love the guy to death, like so many reasons, but I'd say more recently what's been so helpful is just his ability to like rein me back, like when I've gone too far in some direction that kind of, you know, doesn't make sense. Like he just knows me so well. So like that has been great. I mean, that's a little more centered around me, but I guess just purely him too. I really like his ability to kind of communicate just how he's feeling. He's really good at that. So in general, whether it's like friend stuff and life stuff or business stuff, you know, we're like best friends but also business partners, so sometimes that can be challenging. So it's good to kind of, you know, have someone who can communicate effectively.
Right.
Also feel like we're dating with that question.
What about your partner? How did you come up with the melody, or what was the process of a little bit bored?
A little bit bored. So that song started with
I love that song, by the way.
Thank you. We love it too.
It's so catchy.
It started with, we got sent a demo from Ruth, who's the singer on the track, and her team, and she had written kind of like the bare bones top line that you hear, and sent it to us. We like instantly fell in love with it. We actually like tried to work on it, and it was on hold with another big artist, and we were like, oh well, we're never gonna get that record, because we were like, oh, they're probably gonna get it. And then it just fell through, and we hit them back up, and they were like, yeah, like we'd love for you to work on it, and we made a version, and they loved it, and yeah, we just started working on it, and
wow,
that's it.
I'm really glad you guys got that.
Yeah, us too.
Track.
Yeah, we still feel like, I think we actually just crossed 1 million streams on it like a couple weeks ago, which is a great milestone, but we still have high hopes that it's gonna like pop off more than it has, you know, like we feel like it just needs to be heard by more people. We still really believe in that record.
Like what is your advice as far as getting your music, like do you recommend doing the playlist pushing things, like what, like,
Oh, like to get your music heard?
yeah, to get your music heard, and you're up and coming, and
Yeah.
you don't know where to, like,
It's really
go.
tough. Like, this is one of the things that frustrates us most about the music industry right now, is that there's not a lot of emphasis on like new developing people and how to like get people's art heard that are deserving of it.
Right.
It's kind of just like labels, for instance, right now, like major labels, they don't want to develop anyone. Like, they just want to throw energy on something that's already working and like doing well on social media or whatever it is. And I think that's like a huge mistake. Like, I think like you have to listen to the art itself, but it is tough because you sort of also have to simultaneously play the game that's out there. So like with Spotify, for instance, like getting playlist love, like we struggle with this, you know, all the way up to right now. So I can imagine, you know, even if you're even smaller, it's even harder. But you just got to kind of follow their directions, do what you can, submit your music via the Spotify for Artists like thing, work with distribution companies and labels that you feel like get your vision and that you like. They usually have a better, you know, insight into pitching and other people they can contact. That really helped us. Like when we were first starting, we did a lot of work with all of the like YouTube labels, like Proximities and Mr. Suicide Sheep, Seeking Blue, Lowly Palace, Trap Nation, like all that stuff. And they have like really cool Spotify playlists that help get your song exposed, and they like are somewhat connected and can try to get you
Do you think
playlists.
it's the same now, though? I feel like it's a little different.
It might be different,
Like
honestly.
YouTube?
We kind of like stopped doing that about a year ago, and I haven't really been thinking about it, so it could be different. Right now we're just very focused on like trying to connect with our fan base, no matter how small or big it is, and just like really having that like personal relationship with our fans, and you know, just releasing and playing as many dope shows as we can, and just trying to grow in every way besides your music. And I think that's a big thing a lot of up and coming artists kind of forget, is that when you're trying to be like a DJ producer and an artist, like the music is just one piece of that. Like you have to be a social media person, you have to be like an A&R, you have to be a business person. So
Every hat.
it's tough. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very tough, but you know, the people that really stick that out and focus on how they can get better at all those things, and if they suck at something, find help, or at least like be willing to get help. That definitely is probably the biggest focus. But there's no quick hack is probably my main overall answer. Like you can't just like pay someone and get on playlists. You can, it just like doesn't really work. So just trying everything you can.
Favorite food?
Favorite food?
It's my favorite question.
It's a good question. I have so many foods. I would honestly probably say, and this is going to be because I'm from New Mexico, it's called, have you ever heard of green chili? It's like, you know what pepperoncinis are?
No.
Okay, well, this is a bad example, but it's just like a chili, like a spicy, grown in
the
the
soup?
earth. Yeah, like there's green chili stew and stuff like that, but
I love chili. I thought you meant like, I don't know what you were thinking. I was thinking like chili, like sauce.
no, so I mean,
Like,
they
you know
do
how
make
there's, like,
sauces.
Like chili. Like,
Yeah, green chili in New Mexico is like everything. Like there's like a sauce version, there's like a spice version, there's
But
a...
you're talking about like the soup.
Well, I'm talking about like, I was gonna add a green chili cheeseburger is the best. So they put, like, even in the McDonald's in New Mexico has green chili on the menu, like, because everyone loves it so much out there. It's kind of like the native dish of New Mexico. So I think I
What?
just grew up with it. Yeah.
What is this?
I mean, it's
I need
literally
to-
like,
I
imagine
wanna
just like
try.
a spicy, like, I don't know, like
Wait, that sounds
okra.
delicious.
Yeah. Do
That
you know what
sounds so-
okra is?
Yeah, like the little green thing.
It's
I
like
love
that, but like
okra.
a totally different texture and flavor, but it kind of looks like that. Oh yeah, look at that.
Wow. Do you think it's like, yeah, probably not the best idea to just take it. Oh,
On film.
2 more questions.
Okay, great.
What is your biggest fear?
Biggest fear. I probably would say my biggest fear is like, this is tough. Like, there's so many fears. I'm such a fearful guy.
You're such a fearful
No,
guy.
I'm not. I would say like letting people that I care about down is I'm pretty fearful of that.
Oh my
you know?
god.
Just like really, like, it doesn't even have to be like music or just in general. Like if I care about someone and I don't like make it clear to them that I care about them, and then I do something to piss them off or make them feel like I don't care about them, that really gets under my skin.
Wow.
But I also am very fearful of like dying by falling off of a really tall object, but that's like a more like a random stupid fear that is never gonna happen, hopefully.
Oh wow.
But it's like, you know, some people are like, oh, I'm afraid of shark attacks. Well, that's my random fear that is not gonna happen, is just falling off of something. So I'm extra cautious when I'm like on top of tall things.
Oh, okay. But you're not like scared of heights.
Not scared of heights, just scared of falling off of tall things.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right,
Like I just feel like that would be the worst way to go. And just like you just know you're gonna die, and you've got that like long fall.
Yep. But I mean, like at that point, you're like, oh, okay, like I guess I'm kind of flying, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's true. You could look at it that way.
Like instead of like mine is drowning.
Yeah, drowning would
just,
suck
like,
too.
Kind of like, you know.
Yeah, drowning would
No
suck too.
enjoyment in that.
Definitely not.
Um,
You'd be like, oh, I'm just a fish now.
This got so dark.
It did get dark. Maybe we can cut that part out.
Last question.
Okay.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That I've ever received. Well, it's honestly probably the same answer to the question of what's the best piece of advice you could give someone. And like I'm gonna relate it to music just because that's what we do, but like just never giving up or slowing down, even if you are like thrown like failure after failure, or like you're not getting any sort of gratification. I just feel like the one thing that's consistent with everyone I know that's done really amazing things, especially like in the arts, is just being into it because they're into it, and never stopping. Like just you keep grinding, you keep going, and no matter what, like things will happen for you as long as you just keep pressuring yourself to do better, and you just keep going. So that's probably like the best advice. And I don't know who was the first person to tell me that. It was probably some combination of my parents and then some random interview I probably heard like years and years ago. But yeah, I would say it's that.
Zach, Syence, one half of Syence, thank you so much for being
Sweet.
a part
Yeah.
of this interview. Bye, guys. Bye. Thank you.